There isn't a boy but wants to grow manly and true at heart, and every lad would like to know the secrets we can impart. He doesn't want to slack or shirk, oh, haven't you heard him plead? He'll follow a man at play or work, if only a man would lead. We're the men to lead today, sparing an hour or two, teaching the boys the game to play, just as a man should do. Village and slum are calling, come, here are the boys indeed. Who could tell what they might become, if only a man would lead? We're the men to lend a hand, echo it far and wide, men who would rise in every land, bridging the great divide. Nation and flag and tongue unite, joining each class and creed. Here are the boys who would do right, but where are the men to lead? Men, my name is Tony Szak, and I'm a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was just 4 years old, and when I was in first grade, my dad actually moved to Hawaii. So I had a relationship with my father, but he wasn't present in my life. I'd lived with my sister and my mom, and we moved all over the place, and it was tough. I was in 5 different schools in the first 4 years of my my schooling. It was pretty tough. But I want to tell you a few facts about divorce. Half of American children will witness the breakup of their parents' marriage. 40% of children growing up in America today are being raised without their fathers. Compared to children from homes disrupted by death, children from divorced homes have more psychological problems, and people who come from divorced homes are almost twice as likely to attempt suicide. So I was lucky enough that my mom knew that I needed a man, a male figure in my life, and I was fortunate enough that she introduced me to Keith Tompkins. Keith Tompkins, he would take me out for coffee, for breakfast, and stuff like that, and he really poured into me. He helped me set goals in the weight room, on the football field, in the classroom, in my spiritual walk, and helped me with the relationships with my family and my friends. This journal right here is actually that journal that I kept over 25 years ago, and it's pretty cool going back and looking through that every once in a while. My mentorship with Keith was the foundation for me as a young man, and right after high school, I decided to start my own construction company, and we started off pretty small. You know, it was the mentorship from Keith and those fundamentals that I put into my life that I started up my construction company. And in 1999, only being 22 years old, I started Empire Development and Construction. We started off small. We did some small remodeling projects, decks, and things like that. I hired my first employee in 2001. And then we developed a framing crew, and things were going pretty good. We got some momentum, and in 2006 is when we saw a breakthrough, and that's when we won the Parade of Homes. And from there, success just was crazy after that. I was named Builder of the Year twice. I was the youngest president of the Builders Association in La Crosse. We won the Parade of Homes twice, actually. I sat on the board of directors for the Wisconsin Builders Association. I won 6 different Cut Above the Rest awards with the Wisconsin Builders Association for 6 different projects in commercial and residential. I was named top 119 out of the top 550 remodeling companies in the nation. I was named 40 under 40 by Professional Remodelers Magazine. And like Jacob mentioned, I was inducted in the Remodelers Big 50, which is the remodeling, basically the Remodeling Hall of Fame. So all these things were identifying me. I was Tony from Empire. Everybody knew who I was, and it was my identity. My company was my identity. But with all that came pride and ego, and it defined who I was all about. And I was trying to fill this hole inside of me, and I figured that I could fill that hole with success through my work. But behind all these awards and all this recognition, I was a busy, unbalanced man. We have this saying in the construction industry that it only takes one job to take you down. Well, I signed that contract. Yeah, it was not a good one. And from 2009 to 2012, we battled, and it was rough. And by the time we were all done and this thing had settled out, I was broke and I was broken. I was, I just had it. And in 2013, a company approached me. I was still running my company, and a company approached me and asked me to come on board. And I remember sitting in my bed looking through this email, and I'm like, man, how could this other company, you know, I've got all this success and all this stuff. I'm the only one that really knows things are as bad as they are. How could this other company be approaching me? I mean, that's how egotistical I was. But after I read the job description and thought about it, I'm like, I'm only fooling myself. So I decided to take the other job, and figured I would just shut down my company, and everything would be great. So I took the job, and that's what it was. Everything was great, right? I got this new job. I've got this new opportunity. I can get rid of all this stress, and I can put all this stuff behind me. And that's really when it hit me. And when I look back now, that's when my depression started. It was mid-2013 was the height of my depression. And I look back, and you guys are wondering, well, why was I depressed? Well, I lost my identity. It was gone. Everything that I had built, all this stuff, all these accolades, everything is gone. And I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Lost a bunch of weight. Everybody's asking me all the time, hey, you all right? You sick? I had a short temper. I was disconnected from my friends. I was disconnected from my wife and my kids. I was drinking too much. I was always worried about what everybody else thought of me. Am I a failure? I mean, now what? Now how am I identified? Uncontrolled crying. I remember one day I was sitting at the dinner table, and something happened between my oldest daughter and I just snapped. And I remember walking out to the garage, and I just started sobbing. I don't know if you've ever sobbed that hard where it feels like you did a really tough ab workout the next day, but it was one of those. It was terrible. I mean, as men, we just figure that we can just keep it all in. I mean, we're men, so we fix things, right? So we're going to fix it. We figure that we can just shut everybody out, and we'll just take care of this all by ourselves. We like to keep our battles close and not let anybody else in. Everyone thought I had it together, and I did not. I did not have it together. I was wounded, and I was carrying it with me. So how did I get out of this depression? It wasn't pills, and it wasn't going to a psychiatrist. I leaned on my band of brothers. I had to bring those guys back that I had shut out. I had to lean on guys like Keith Tompkins, my mentor, Dave Twite, another mentor of mine. The guys that we do life together. And it was my time. I had to take action. If you keep doing the same things over and over again, guys, you're going to get the same results. So I said to myself, I've got to do something about this. So one day I'm driving up to Eau Claire, and things are rough, and I'm thinking, I got to do something. So I popped in an audio disc, and it was Jack Canfield was on, 21 Success Principles, great book. And there was a part in there that he was talking about The Hour of Power by Azim Jamal. And basically what the hour of power is, it's pretty simple. It's 20 minutes in a good book. It's 20 minutes of meditation, and it's 20 minutes of physical activity. So I thought, well, you know what? My wife gets up early in the morning. I'll get up early, and I'll jump on the elliptical for 20 minutes, and then I'll read a good book for 20 minutes. And then, as a Christian man, I just decided that I was going to do some Bible and prayer time for 20 minutes. So my hour of power. And I just started doing that every day, and it started to really make me feel good. I mean, finally I've got something kind of going my way. So I came up with this analogy. It's a 50-point. I'm going to break this down into 8 different sections and 45 subsections. No, I'm not going to do that, okay? This is really tough for you guys here. I came up with this three-legged stool. And at the top is balance. And inside of these three legs is your physical leg, your mental leg, and your spiritual leg. And let me kind of talk about these a little bit. The thing is that in order for to have the most balance in our lives, we need to really look at these three components. So your physical leg is really that 20 minutes that I took, just getting active, getting to it. It's eating right, it's eating healthy, it's being active, it's being motivated, and working on your physical self. And I mean, it just started with me for 20 minutes. So I ask you guys, do you have 20 minutes a day where you can do some physical exercise? It's probably not a bad thing to jump into. My mental leg, this is 20 minutes in a good book. This is helping myself get motivated as far as, improving my game at work. Maybe you're in a technical or trade magazine, something like that. Maybe it's a book about being a better father or a better husband. Motivational books to work on yourself. And then the spiritual leg, like I said, it was 20 minutes in Bible and prayer, and that was what works for me. I had to really take a look at myself and say, if I'm going to fix things, it's got to start with me. So I came up with this as well. This is kind of a spin-off of a couple of different things. If you look at this too long, you're going to get into a trance. So I'm going to go through this as fast as I can. So in the middle, I have myself, and that's not a selfish self. This is a Christ-centered self for me as a Christian man. Okay. So I'm gonna try and make myself as good as I possibly can before I start my influence out from there. And for me, I'm married, so my next circle of influence is with my wife, and making sure that my connection with her is as good as it possibly can be before then I can go out to that next circle, which is my children. A lot of people will get that switched around. They'll put their emphasis on their kids instead of their wife, and now you've got a big problem. And then after that, I work out to that work, and then from there, I'm having my influence on the community. So I try and do that in that order. Obviously, you get things switched around. You might be putting too much emphasis on your work, and your family life isn't working so good. So I encourage you guys to really look at yourself and see how you can have that influence from self out to your wife, out to your kids, to work, and then to your community. So there's one other thing that I want to talk about is I said this affirmation to myself every single day. And I encourage you guys to, if you're going through a rough patch, to find that affirmation. And for me it was, today I'm going to have a joyous life, or I'm going to have a joyous heart and be happy in all I say and do. I said that to myself every single day. Because it was rough, guys. It was really tough. And I thought to myself, you know what? I have to change my way of thinking. And today I'm going to be happy. I'm audibleizing that, and I'm hearing myself say it. And when you say something out loud like that, your brain is saying, you know what? We're going to be happy. How about when you smile? Smile. I mean, really. You feel better when you smile, you know? So this is something that I implement in my life. My youngest daughter, she has her little affirmations that she does every day as well. So put this into your life, guys. You are actually going to change the way that you think and the way that you feel. So by the end of 2014, I had overcome my depression, and this is where things kind of get a little interesting for me. So right now I'm pretty good. I'm as good as I can be. I'm still working on myself. I'm doing all this stuff, but I've got this job. Everything's going well, and I end up going up to Leading With Power in December of 2014, and my good friend and mentor Tom Thibodeau was speaking up there. I saw on the list that you guys had Tom Thibodeau speak here earlier this year. Wow, he's awesome, and I can't believe that I'm following him up because he's awesome, and he's one of my best friends. I mean, a great mentor for me. And so anyway, Tom speaks in front of 190 guys at this great event, and I walk up to him afterwards, and I'm like, Tom, man, that was so awesome. This is great. And he looks down at me because Tom's kind of a tall guy, and he's like, hey, Tony, why don't we have this going on in La Crosse? And I look up at him and I'm like, I don't know. And he says, well, get on it. And I'm like, okay, all right, I guess I'll do this Leading with Power thing up in La Crosse. So I didn't know, I didn't know how it was gonna work, but I knew that going through all the stuff that I had gone through, that Leading with Power would be a way to help encourage guys and give guys hope that might be going through some tough times. So I made the commitment right then and there that I was going to bring Leading with Power to La Crosse, and I didn't know how that was going to work. I didn't know how I was going to find the time to do that, but I made that commitment nonetheless. And there's a few things in our lives that we're not really ready for. One of them being kids. One of them starting a new job, or starting a new business or something like that, or starting a nonprofit. I was not ready for that. I didn't know how to do that. I have no experience in doing that. So it was uncharted territory for me, but it was, I said, we'll figure this thing out. But here's the thing. If I would simply wait around until I was perfect, like, yep, I've got everything together, this is just going to be great, I'm never going to get there. Guys, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to say, yep, I have arrived and now it's time to do this. Sometimes we just got to take action. Sometimes we just need to do it. We all play hurt, guys. We all are walking around with wounds and things that we have weighing us down, but we have to take action. We got to get in the game. So 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after I'd made that commitment in December, I filed bankruptcy. And 3 weeks after that, I lost my job. Sometimes you don't have the time to start something up, but sometimes God says, whoa, I'll make some time for you. And he did. I mean, that's the truth, guys. Now remember, I'm supposed to be motivating you guys, right? I mean, come on, Tony, let's motivate me a little bit. But the day was January 8th, 2015. I was planning to drive up to Eau Claire. And I was going to pick up my buddy Adam, and we were going to head to Eau Claire. We were going to do some networking up there for Leading with Power. And I get an email from my boss. He's like, hey, need you to come in. We need to talk real quick. So I walk into the office, and I see my boss sitting there, and I see the HR person sitting here, and I do one of these. Well, this doesn't look good, does it? He says, no, Tony, it's not good. You probably should take a seat. 30 minutes later, I walked out without having a job. I was kind of freaked out. And my buddy Adam followed me to my house, and he helped me get the boxes in the house, and started pacing my kitchen table like I do when I'm thinking and a little freaked out. And Adam, Adam says, well, what do you want to do now? And I said, well, I don't even know. I mean, I ran this construction company, and I was doing this business development thing, and I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do anymore. And Adam asks me this one question, and he says, what is your passion? And I answered him like that. I said, I have the passion for the hearts of men. And he looks at me and he's like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? I said, Adam, I made this commitment back in December that I was going to bring this Leading with Power to La Crosse, and I think that God's telling me, you know what? You need to do this. So for the next month, from that day through February 7th, I worked with Keith diligently on finding speakers, finding a venue, putting our advisory team together, and it was really cool because a month later, it was exactly 1 month later, I drove up to Eau Claire. Keith got up in front of everybody and he said, hey, everybody, Tony is starting a branch of Leading with Power in La Crosse. And everybody was, hey, this is awesome. Everybody's cheering and clapping. Now, I don't have a job yet at this point. I mean, I had a few interviews here and there, but, I mean, I do not have a job. And I feel, you kind of get that feeling in your stomach, like I kind of need to start providing for my family again. At that meeting, Keith says that to 200 plus guys, place goes bonkers, and 15 minutes later, I had 2 job interviews on my phone. Now, I don't know if you guys are all, I don't know how religious you are, how faithful you are, whatever, but I'm telling you, the way that I looked at that is God said, you know what, Tony, we're pulling this out over here. You're going to take the time and you're going to get this thing done, and then when you're done, I'm going to bless you again. That's the way I look at it. And I thought that was pretty cool because it was literally 15 minutes after we announced that. Like I said, sometimes we're just not ready for that, but sometimes we just got to let that go. So September 9th, 2015, we started Leading with Power in La Crosse. And since then, we've seen over 1,600 men come through the doors. We average about 150 guys every month, with our highest attendance being 335 guys over one lunch hour. Can you imagine that? It's a lot of guys. We've had some phenomenal speakers. I look at your guys' list here, and I mean, you guys have had basically all the speakers we've had. We've had some unbelievable guys, real motivational people. We've seen men become better men. And it's because of the guys in that room that are pouring into those other guys that we're seeing a difference. I have personally seen marriages completely turned around. I had a guy call me up one day and he said, hey, Tony, my wife wants me to sign divorce papers. I don't know what to do. I said, well, let's get together and we'll just talk about it. And for the next couple of weeks, we talked and emailed back and forth and met for coffee. And he started coming to Leading with Power, and I gave him a couple of tips on, this is something that you could do to work on yourself. And he started to implement some of those things. And the day came where he was supposed to sign the papers, and he didn't. It was on a Friday. By the following Monday, his wife at the time called him and said, hey, you know what? Maybe we should just give this another shot. And they've been doing great. That was about a year ago. We've actually seen it work. It's really working. That's why I get really energized about seeing you guys here, being able to network with each other and maybe, meeting new people and things like that. That's what's really cool about it. And if you can take just a couple of things from the speakers that you hear once a month, just one thing that you can take back and you can influence those around you, that's the whole key. So there's one component that I kind of brushed over real quick in that three-legged stool, and that was the spiritual leg. Well, let's not talk about that, Tony. You just went right through it, and I thought that I get the physical part, the mental part, I get that, but the spiritual thing, well, guess what? We're going to talk about it just a little bit. Have you ever thought about what happens when you die? The fact is, guys, is that we're going to be dead longer than we're going to be alive. That's been validated. I mean, that's a fact, right? So why aren't we talking about it? Why aren't we ever doing anything about it? Now, I'm not here to convince you one way or another on, if you got to go to church more often or if you got to do this and that. But, since I brought it up, a good spiritual walk and church attendance have been known to do this. It's been known to increase your life expectancy, lower your risk of depression, improve time management. Your kids tend to get better grades at school. It significantly lowers your risk of death. And get this, couples who attend church on a regular basis have a better sex life. Come on, that's pretty good. All right, how about a little amen or something? All right. And admission is free. I mean, guys, come on. Let's take a look at some of the stats, though. The typical U.S. congregation draws an adult crowd that is 61% female and 39% male. On any given Sunday, there are 13 million more adult women that attend church than men. This Sunday, almost 25% of married church-going women will worship without their husbands. More than 90% of American men believe in God, and 5 out of 6 call themselves Christians, but only 1 in 6 attend church. The average man accepts the reality of Jesus Christ, but fails to see any value in going to church. And this same study done by Morrow Media Did conclude, however, that teens with church-going fathers are more likely to say they enjoy spending time with them and that they admire him. Let me say that again. They admire him. No, I've given you some stats and some good reasons to go to church, but simply going to church isn't going to take care of all that afterlife stuff, guys. You need to take action in your life. I figured it out going through pain and bankruptcy that it wasn't until I was pouring into other people that's when things really started to click for me. So I ask you, what are you going to do when it falls apart? If you lose your job, or if you lose your bunch of money, or if your marriage starts to fall apart, or does, if you lose a loved one, when you have this company that's so successful, you get to the top and realize that the only thing left is a cliff to fall off of. You take that last step and you lose it all. For me, it was putting my heart and faith in Jesus Christ. That's what it was for me. I had to let go of my pride and my ego. I had to give it all up. Now I'm speaking the truth, guys. You guys can run from it, you can hide from it, but I'll tell you, I'm telling you the truth. And some of you guys can't handle the truth. Can I say that again? You can't handle the truth. I just love saying that in that part of the talk because some people are nodding off and going to sleep on me. Just love doing that. But what I've learned going through all of this is that when I open up to others, they'll open back up to me. I'll be sitting down with somebody over coffee and I'll tell them, hey man, I really hit the skids and things fell apart. And then they say, man, do I got a story for you. And that's really the way it works, guys. That's why I wanted to come up here and tell my story, because that might encourage one of you guys to say, you know what, I need to talk to somebody about this. I don't have it all together, guys. I don't. And the guys that are sitting out here, they don't have everything together either. But we need to take action in those relationships. You know, we can hide behind a smile and we can hide behind some great Facebook posts and things like that, right? We don't ever put our crappy stuff out on Facebook, and if you do, well, I'm going to have to unfriend you. But the fact of the matter is that I only put the best out there. Me and my family doing a little vacation, or I like to wrap a lot of stuff in bacon, that kind of stuff. You know, that's me. But the average person wouldn't know that just months before I started leading with Power in Lacrosse, my wife and I went through the biggest struggle in our life, the biggest battle our marriage has ever faced. And when I take a look at the bankruptcy and all that other stuff, it wasn't even close to what her and I went through. Nobody knew that, except my band of brothers, the guys that I was working with, the guys that I was talking to, the guys that were helping me through this battle. My marriage survived that through the grace and power of Jesus Christ in my life and in my wife's life. We started leading with Power in Lacrosse because men needed to hear the truth, and as you guys heard the stats, not a lot of guys are hearing that. They're not going to church, so hopefully they'll hear it over a lunch hour. Maybe they'll get a little taste of it here. But you got to take action. You have to take action in your life. Sometimes it's getting up. Sometimes it's just finding people that you can talk to. But it's taking action. I took action in my life, and that's what healed me. That was it. It was actually the action that helped heal me. So I'm going to ask you, who wants this $100 bill? Anyone? Of course you want this $100 bill. It's a $100 bill, right? Who wants it? Congratulations. What did that guy do that nobody else did in the room? He got off his butt and he took action. But now I ask you guys this, what kept you sitting there? Right. Or maybe I feel embarrassed, or maybe he's going to make fun of me, or maybe it's not really a $100 bill, and it's legit. It is. It's the real deal. Sometimes we just got to get off our butt and take action. That's how easy it was, guys. Now, Keith Tompkins, he saw this, he heard this talk before, and man, as soon as I pulled out that $100 bill, he was up here real quick. It was pretty funny. But guys, we got to take action. So I'm going to ask you this. This is something that you should be asking yourselves. Who are my band of brothers? Who are they? A lot of us, we can't name a best friend. Can you? Can you name a best friend? I mean, just think of that one guy. Who's that one guy? Yeah, all right, I got that guy. What about 2 or 3? Can you name 2 or 3 guys that you can really rely on? I see some of you guys shaking your heads like, yeah. Unfortunately, the statistics show us that that's really not the case. It was the influence of my mentor over plus 25 years now that made Leading with Power happen in La Crosse. It was the impact of a band of brothers on my life that got Leading with Power to La Crosse, not me. It said that good mentors equals good decisions. Let me say that again. Good mentors equals good decisions. The quality of people around you will define you. It said that the top 5 people that you hang around with, you're the average of all those people. So who are you hanging out with? They're the right people? They're the right guys? You're the average in there. So think about that. And I hope that you guys have 5 guys that you call friends, that you're hanging out with, that you're relying on, that can be your band of brothers who are keeping you accountable, and you're helping them out as well. Right here in this room is a great place to start. You don't make a lot of friends after you graduate college. I mean, that's really the truth. I mean, where do you find guys to hang out with? This is a good spot to start. You guys come every month. You're going to develop new relationships. And there might come a time when it all hits the fan and you need somebody to talk to. It'd be good to grab up one of these guys in this room that you've created a relationship with where they can help you through it. Or maybe one of your friends needs somebody to talk to, and you can give them a couple good pieces of advice. Mentorship is not just a younger kid with an older person. It's peer mentorship. One-on-one, guys our age. It works, and we've seen it work. So I want you guys to identify those relationships in your life. So can you name that best friend? Have you thought of that guy? Can you name him? Have you had a conversation like, hey, you know what, I got to tell you, you're my best friend. I got nobody else to talk to. I've actually had that conversation. I don't want to get too sappy, but have you told them that you love them? Who are you telling that you love anyway? You're going to wait until you're writing somebody's obituary to tell them how much you really cared for them, how much you really loved them? It'd be a tragedy, guys. Don't worry about it. I tell guys that I love them all the time. And it's okay. It's all right. We have an obligation to our spouses, our children. We have an obligation to our spouse, our children, and our friends to be the best men that we can be. We have an obligation to our coworkers and our community to be the best men and noble men that we can be. So where are the men to lead? They're sitting right here in this room. Right here. You guys are the men to lead. Grab a guy, take him out for coffee. Get to know him. In the evening, grab a beer. Go for it. It's all right. Every one of us has an opportunity and an obligation to mentor each other. I've gone through a lot of ups and downs, and it's been tough. But I hope that I've given you guys a few different pieces of advice that can help you through maybe some hard times that you're going through. I've been told that if you're going to give a talk about, you got to do two things. One, talk about God, and two, keep it about 20 minutes. Okay? All right, I went a little over. We've got plenty of time, but I want to just give you a couple little updates. My mom and dad divorced when I was a kid. Well, they actually got remarried after 20 years of divorce. Kind of a cool story. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The company that let me go, going through that hard time, 5 months later, they filed receivership. So I kind of dodged a bullet now that I look back at it. I've got a great job, and I'm fulfilled every day. I've got a great family, and I continue to work on myself every single day and lean on that band of brothers because I need those guys. I'm going to leave you guys with this quote. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. I don't know if you guys know anything about Winston Churchill, but he had some pretty hard struggles in his life. The vision of Leading with Power is to build up men to be better husbands, better fathers, leaders at work, and leaders in the community. I encourage you guys to stand up, step up, take action, and lead with power. Thank you.